There we go.
There we go.
Yeah. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the next episode of People I Know. Tonight's guest is definitely a special guest in my opinion. It's an individual I have a very very deep level of respect for. I was fortunate enough to meet this young man when I was working in Colombia, and I've just been fortunate enough to see him blossom throughout his career, whether it be professionally and personally, ever since each step along the way, thanks to technology. His name is Jerome Collins, hailing from Kingston, Jamaica. But he is
Yep.
definitely, without a doubt, a citizen of the world, in every sense of the word. Still working on that Spanish though, but we're gonna get him right.
It is.
Jerome, man, welcome to the series. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you so much for having me, man. It's awesome to talk to you again. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's been a minute. Like, talk to me. What's good? What's new with you? I know you just recently finished the education in England, correct?
Yeah, that's a big part of who I am. I did a master's in operations at the
Okay.
University of Birmingham, so I was in the cold for a bit. Was outside of Jamaica's temperature for a bit. But I finished. It was a 1-year program, so I'm back now, hitting the ground running, just seeing how best I can continue with career and personal development.
Okay, well, let's hone in on that. First and foremost, why would you leave the tropics to go to England, like the land of greatness and drizzle? And where did you learn
Um,
that?
I mean, so for me, I grew up in inner city, and it was laced with poverty. So it's like education is the only means to escape that poverty. So it's always I finished my bachelor's inside of Jamaica, and I was like, you know what, there's a next level, and
Okay.
I wanted to do something internationally. So thank you. I wanted to do that's my little nephew there. I wanted to do something international, so the UK was the best bet. 1-year program. I got an awesome scholarship. I got a evening scholarship, covers every single thing that I would need. So that was my reason. It wasn't the weather.
No, I'm not upset with that. Okay, so what challenges did you face in England? I mean, aside from the obvious stuff, like, all right, Jamaica's an island with the beach, and
Mhm.
England is an island by technicality, but of course, it's not the West Indies. What are the
Yes.
real, unexpected challenges that you had to face and overcome there?
I mean, it was a lot. It's obviously two different educational
Yeah,
systems. So I had to readjust my thinking. I did math in here in Jamaica, but there's like a lot of writing, etc. So it was like a huge shift. Outside of that, this year was very interesting for the UK, politically. Brexit, some racism started to. It's not as bad as you guys, in the US.
yeah, I was waiting on the jab. Okay, fair enough. But
Yeah,
continue.
yeah. But I mean, it was an interesting time to be there, and it wasn't just UK. I traveled a bit across Europe because the world is out there for us to see. So I mean, the challenges were many. It's just about finding that comfort zone and getting what needs to be done.
Indeed, indeed. Let's the Brexit thing. What was the? I mean, you mentioned the racism. Like, what was it like living in a place that had that level of tension? I mean, it's America's always on fire. That's just America. Europe is
Yeah,
different. Like, when one thing happens in Europe, it's sort of a big deal because nothing really big like that ever happens.
exactly.
Especially with the migration thing that's going on
Issue
right
that
now.
happened. Yeah, I mean, I think even as a black man, I didn't face it as much as the Muslim people of that faith. But I think it wasn't very harsh. For example, you'd walk into certain restaurants and they would be like, "Hmm," everyone's just staring at you. It's like, oh, look, a
Yeah,
black man.
yeah, the record
Um,
slaps and all that. Yeah,
exactly. So it was like that. It wasn't all up in your face, like go back to Africa.
yeah.
But you definitely sense that persons were like, oh, you people are just a strain on this system, etc. Luckily for me, I spent most of my time in the school, and the school is very international, so I was shielded from most of it. But when I do travel, you know, spending like 2 hours waiting on my passport to return and stuff. So you see it, you see it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But on to the positives. Like you're back in Jamaica, adjusting to that after being abroad for a year. Like how differently did you view home?
I mean, for me, it was I think my mind,
Hmm.
I'm way more critical because we had to read a lot and we had to read wide. So I think I developed like strong critical thinking. So coming back to Jamaica, Jamaica, no problem.
Yeah,
Everyone is just laid back. Time is not of an essence.
it is a very fluid concept.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm still adjusting back into that. Um, Efficiency is not a big thing here anymore for some organizations, customer service, etc. But I mean, it's been good. It's coming back to family, and it's about developing this added skill and coming back to home to implement what I've learned. So that's the biggest part of it for me.
Okay, so where do you see yourself functioning at the highest capacity right now? Like, where do you see the greatest need for your skill set?
Right now, I think it's definitely in government or the NGO sector. Coming back, JD, I know they haven't gotten a backstory, but I was kind of a bit famous in Kingston before I left. I've
Kind of a
been,
bit. That's an understatement. Let's get it clear. Okay, like
yeah,
Jerome was that dude in Kingston. Is that dude in Kingston? I'm still waiting on you to take over the country, but that's coming soon. That's coming soon.
yeah. So after, last year meeting President Obama, meeting the Queen, traveling to South Africa to meet the Mandelas, I had a little name. So coming back to Jamaica, I was like, you know what? Let's see where I'm gonna work. So I was actually offered positions, so I have to be balancing them between passion, purpose, and finances.
Hmm.
So obviously, private sector will definitely beat everything in finances, but I really want to do what I'm passionate about and what I can serve my purpose. And my purpose is to help young people to discover themselves, to do development work. So it's just about finding that niche that I can do. I also do a bit of public speaking as well. So it's just finding that synergy between all of what I remember in Colombia in that balcony, we had that discussion. And you were like, oh, Jerome, you just have to find out where that niche is and go after it. So I'm taking your advice, sir.
Yo, it's all you, man. You run with it.
Yeah,
All
so
right,
it's settling, finding the right fit, see how best I can even fit two opportunities into one. Because we're going big, we're going really big.
of course. Without saying, what do you see right now as a potential blockage of that path? Being in Jamaica, like how would accomplishing your dreams there be different than maybe accomplishing that same goal in England?
I mean, off the bat is the finances, the salary.
Yeah.
Our pay scale here in Jamaica, on average, people earn 1,000 US a month or less. I
Hmm.
know you get like probably 7 times that, but that's average salary here
You'd
in
be
Jamaica.
surprised. The
So
concept of the working poor is very real here, actually.
yeah, yeah. So it's definitely salary would be one of the biggest roadblocks. Outside of that, we're very much into traditional politics as well. It's that season where you have to be choosing sides. So if you're
Hmm.
along with party A, you can't do stuff for party B, and if you're not in party B, you can't do stuff with party A. And for me, that's a huge challenge because I haven't selected a side as yet. So it's either I get accepted by one or shunned by both. So I'm trying to balance that as much as possible, but it will work out.
Yeah, of course, I have no doubt of that. But speaking to, I guess, the dichotomy of political parties, that sounds like a very historically true Jamaican issue. Like even going back to the 60s and 70s, there was that very real schism between Party A and Party B for the sake of keeping it clean and not getting you in no trouble.
Yeah, yeah,
How real and how active, are is that divide still to this day? Because I remember going back in 2009 and still seeing the graffiti on the wall from one side,
yeah.
one faction versus the other.
It's really interesting. It's such an interesting phenomenon. I mean, every country you go to, um, you have those party lines, yeah.
Yeah.
As you see what's happening right now in your country.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
in Jamaica, I think people used to take it a bit further. Like they would kill people. There's all these wars. People lose their jobs just because the things have changed. However, like in the past, like two elections, because of I think the international pressure, we have all these organizations coming in to witness what's happening, etc. We're right in the US backyard, so a lot of those NGOs come. I think the help that we get from those entities has brings some sort of civilization. So a prime example, when I was growing up, there was no way you could choose not to vote in my constituency. If you chose not to vote, you'd have to leave, or you'd get disrespected, you'd get beaten, all sorts of stuff. But now I think, and you have the right to choose whatever you want to do. So I think we're definitely progressing, and people are just becoming smarter in general. Like the world is opening up, so access to information, young people are getting a bigger voice and they're more educated. So things are changing for the better without a doubt.
And you've always had a passion for youth, even that's sort of what made you famous in Kingston. It was the youth, not only the development, but in the peace building process.
Yes.
How is your new station in life and that new set of information that you've gained from your tours abroad, not only in England, but as you said, going to Korea, going to South Africa,
Yeah.
going to Colombia, going through Panama. Like, how is that now shaping the way that you attack, making sure that the younger generations that are coming up, are exposed to certain things?
Yeah, I mean, it has taken an entire shift. So I started my organization when I was 13 years old.
Hmm.
Um, long time. I don't know if you were born as yet, but you know,
Maybe not.
maybe not. And growing up, like one of the things I used to focus on, JD, was um, numbers. So I was always okay talking to my presidents. I was like, okay, how many persons are we engaging? We can't go below the 120 mark. We have to keep growing. We have to keep growing. And I found like that really stretched us. Last year I was in Jordan for some anti-terrorism meeting with the UN, and we recognized how, there's a targeted approach that happened in Jordan and in other peaceful Middle Eastern countries. It wasn't like you're trying to just capture the entire country all at once. So, like, I took that back, and what I'm doing right now is just I'm gonna focus on 10 persons, and that 10 persons, I'm gonna use my financial resources. I'm gonna use my mentorship, because if I'm mentoring 10 persons in relation to 100, obviously I can create a stronger bond. I'm gonna try to find 10 persons in the business community to also link with those 10 persons, and then they can continue that trend. So it's not just like a 2 hour meeting and you go home. It's a constant, oh, I'm going to send messages to these 10 persons every day to say, okay, how is it going? How's school? So it's that targeted approach that has been like the main shift. And I think I got that over the past year from traveling and from studies.
It sounds like you've developed a very systematic approach, and
The
instead of using that energy, which you have a remarkable amount of, but making it more sectioned off, has that affected any other parts of life as well? Outside of your outreach and your work?
I mean, most definitely, I think, it's about now listening and paying more attention to what's happening. For now, for example, I don't follow my mass media here. If I see a story, and obviously that was like the best thing to do before, but I think just now it's like I've recognized that everyone has their own agenda, and I have to be, for example, I have to be reading RT News, I have to be reading CNN, I have to be reading Fox, I have to be, and then you get all that information and then you try to decide. So even in Jamaica, I still try to apply that concept as well. Pretty much that's it. Haven't changed that much.
Oh man, that's beautiful. I'm happy to hear it though. Hearing that you're continuing the pursuit of the synergy definitely makes me smile inside. But aside from that, man, like you've always been a very business-minded individual. From time. How do you relax? How do you blow that steam off?
The water, man. That's why I was so happy to come back to Jamaica. I grew up on the coast, Kingston, the harbor.
Just go chill in
And
Hellshire or what, man? That's what.
well, it's anywhere. We have our brand new Chinese highways now, so you get to
Highway. Last time it was like one, right?
yeah, it's one, it's one. No, it's two. We have a north coast and south coast. What are you talking about?
Okay, my bad.
So, and we're building a third. So you get to any point at the island in like in a matter of 2 hours. So, Ochi, Montego Bay. I'm heading to Negril on the weekend. Um, so it's that's relaxed. A lot of family time. I just got home from church with mom. So
That is
you have to
adorable.
keep that balance always. You work hard, but you play hard as well.
That's what's good. So, that being said, if you could talk to Jerome from age 20 or 5 years ago, whichever comes closer, what would you tell him? What gems or advice would you give him?
It's just to continue following that passion. Um, 5 years ago, I was like, oh my God, I want to just do youth development. 5 years ago, I wanted to be a speaker. 5 years ago, I wanted to travel so bad. I think I started traveling, was it 4 years or 5 years ago? Sometime around that time. Um, I would tell myself to just continue. Over the past 5 years, JD, it has been such a tremendous journey. I've been to almost 11 countries. I'm arriving at year 40 soon, but I've been to so many countries. I've spoken in South Korea, in South Africa, a bit in Colombia. The organization I started in Colombia. So
Hmm.
it's just to continue following that passion. You know, um, you don't necessarily have to be a banker because at that time I was interning at Scotiabank. You don't have to be a banker. You don't have to be an accountant. You don't have to be a marketer or whatever, a doctor, a lawyer. There's a host of other professions that bring real fulfillment. So just continue pursuing that passion.
I noticed you mentioned gratefulness a lot on social media, and you always have.
Yeah, yeah.
How big of a role has that played
You know, grat-
in your development?
gratitude brings in more. It's about the law of attraction and what you focus on. So whatever you focus on and you're grateful for, you attract more into your life. If you're grateful for every single travel experience, a lot of my friends, like as I started progressing out of the ghetto, and I got some friends of the upper class that would say, "Oh, Jerome, you're so in Jamaica. We say you're frightened because
Hmm.
every little good thing that happened, you posted on social media." And but for me, I try to explain to them that it's just me being grateful and putting that out there. It's not showing off, or it's not trying to belittle anyone else. It's just that you're grateful for the small things, and you attract them more into your life. You're grateful for the people, you know, that are in your life. For example, whenever we talk, I always tell you, man, thank you for your posts. Thank you for the words you share. Thank you for just being a listening ear, And look, 2 years later, we're still having conversation and learning from each other. So gratitude, it's powerful. It's powerful. It brings in more.
Indeed. And on that note, man, I don't think we have anything else to add from that. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy.
No
And may
worries,
these
no
words,
worries.
find whoever needs to hear them.
Awesome, and see you on in the flip side in next year. It's gonna be the U.S. year this next year.
Yeah. Let's not even get on that. That's another few posts. But
Yeah,
hang
yeah.
stick around after we start the broadcast. We'll chop it up some more, yeah?
No worries, no worries.
All right, world. From my universe, from Jerome's, back to yours. Peace, blessings, wholeness, prosperity, all that.
Love and
Bless.
light.